Hi, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic. I'm going to take a look at this viewer requested Sudoku in a moment. It's rated very hard. I don't have any real context for what that means, except that if we look at the number of given digits in the puzzle, it looks like it's being quite generous. And in fact, the whole of the central blocks there is obviously full at the start. So maybe it'll be fine. We shall see. Just a couple of other comments to mention. Thank you very much to those of you who've become patrons of ours on Patreon. We've now reached our first target in terms of number of patrons, and that means that I owe you an Okuyama Sudoku solve. Okuyama being the incredible Sudoku setter for Nickly.com. So watch out for that in the coming days. I will put something together. If you do have the means to support us on Patreon, we would be very grateful. These videos take a lot of our time, and any support we get is really, really appreciated. And the other thing I want to just mention or touch on is Mark's video last night, in which he tackled another puzzle we've been sent, which was monstrously hard. And you'll have heard Mark say in the video that I did take a look at it and couldn't make head nor tail of it, and that's absolutely right. And it was really just to sort of fess up to that and say it wasn't that I didn't try. I did. I even tried to record my solve of it, but after about half an hour I had made very little progress, couldn't get my head around what was going on at all, and therefore had to abandon it. And Mark went into it using his bifurcation method, and that's what you saw in the video. So yeah, sorry about that. I would have loved to be able to show you some exotic techniques to solve it, but it was beyond at least my abilities as a solver to show you those techniques in any sort of way that would have meant anything. I did have a look at the suggested solution path that the computer gave as well, and it was crazy. So I'm hoping this one won't be like that. So let's take a look. Now I'll start with standard technique in the hope this isn't too monstrous. So in 3x3 blocks where a number can only go in one of two positions, I'll make little pencil marks like this: 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. Force the 2's into one of those two cells, and we'll go along this path for as long as we can and see whether or not it gets us where we need to be. Fives, nothing there. Ones, twos, twos. Okay, we could do a New York Times type trick here. Look, we have a 3 and a 4 here, and a 3 and a 4 in row 4. So where can we place the numbers 3 and 4 in column 1? Well, we can't place them in here, here, or here, and there's only two positions left. So we know these two cells have got to be 3 and 4, and in fact, we can go further than that. It's a bit more obvious. We have a 4 and 4 here. So this is going to have to be the 4. That's going to be a 3. And we at least have some big numbers in the grid. That means we can pencil mark 3's down there. Pencil mark 4's down here. And if we look at column 1, where can we place a 7? Well, we can't put one here because of this 7, and there's a 7 there as well, so there's only one position left for a 7. And that means the open two positions have got to be 6 and 8. So I have to say I'd be very tempted to pencil mark this. I know this isn't the standard notation that I suggested, but this sort of thing is very powerful in very difficult puzzles, and if this is indeed very difficult, we may need this. So what can we do now? So one of the things I've just noticed here, it might not matter, but look, there's only two positions an 8 can go in column 9 there. And 8's ruled out from this square, and this one ruled out from this square. These are the sorts of things can be worth keeping track of. Delete that now, but that's just to indicate to you sort of the way my mind works when I'm looking at these Sudokus. I'm looking for things like that, where a number is limited to just 2 positions in rows and columns and boxes. You can see here as well, we've got an awful lot of rows and columns that have a lot of given digits. So I'm just going to quickly scan now, see whether or not any of these, we've got any naked singles or hidden singles. So 3, 4, 7, 8 coming down here. So this square here is quite limited. This can only be a 4 and an 8. This can only be a 3 or a 7. So I'm already starting to get quite polluted pencil marks now by starting to mark in squares that contain only 2 digits. We'll just carry on a bit longer, and I may actually switch completely to full pencil marking rather than Snyder notation. Let me just take a quick look. So let's go down 2, 3, 6, 8 down here. 3, 6, 8. That's a 2 or a 3. Yeah, I am going to switch. The fact that I didn't get much out of pencil marks early worries me. So I'm just going to go to standard. This is completely normal pencil marking now, not Snyder notation. And I'm going to remember there was 8s in those 2 positions. Let's come back to fully pencil marking. So 1, 4, 7, 8 along here. That's a 1 or a 7. Nothing more there. 2, 3, 7, 9 across here. Okay, nothing there. 1, 2. This square is a 2 or a 3. Hang on, there might be something better here. We've got the same thing we had with the 3 and the 4. We've got going on down in row 9 with the 8 and the 9. Look, we've got an 8 and a 9 here and an 8 and a 9 here. So where can we place an 8 and a 9 in row 9? We can't have it here or here, so there's only 2 positions for an 8 or a 9, those 2. And does that matter? Don't know. Let's just fill in the rest of row 9. So we need 2, 3 and 7. That's a shame. So that can be anything, but that can only be a 2 or a 7. So little, just so you're aware, little tricks you can do very quickly. You now see we've got this 2, 7 and this 2, 3 and this 3, 7. This is a very obvious chain, okay, to me at least. So I'm immediately seeing if I put a 7 in here, then this square can't be a 7. If this is a 2, this square will be a 3 and this square will be a 7. So either way round we get a 7 pointing at this square. This square can never have a 7 in it. Now if we just look at the contents we can put in this square, therefore it can't be 2, 3. It's not helping us very much. This is still can be a 2, 5 or 6. But that's just a little something to look out for. The other thing, there is something else I've noticed as well. If we look at this block, we have one of these empty rectangle situations, and that's because of the 3, 7 and the 2, 3 on the diagonal. So I'll add some highlighting at the end, but we know that the numbers that aren't included yet, or pencil marks, so then if we ignore this 8, 9 just for a moment, we've got pencil marks or big numbers covering 1, 2, 3, 6 and 7. Therefore 4, 5, 8 and 9 are going to appear in this cross shape. Okay, now where you get this situation, you can link it with your searches for X-wings and things, because look over here, I was looking, I highlighted the 8s over here ages ago, and this now interacts with this block because we know the 8s will be in positions like that. So if the 8s are in column 5 here, they'll point at this square. This square can't be an 8 in that situation. But if the 8s are in the row, this cannot be an 8. And therefore, looking at column 9, this will have to be an 8. And that will point at this square too. So either there'll be an 8 in one of these 3 squares, or there'll be an 8 here. This square here cannot contain an 8. So now, does that matter? It can be a 1, 2, 3, 4. It can be a 5. That's a shame. 6, 7 can't be an 8, and 9. So this is, well, we get a 1, 5 pair from that. Let's just remove the clutter, remembering that's an 8, 9 pair. So, okay. What now? This row, we can do some more on this row. I don't know if I looked at this row before. 1, 2, 6 and 8 to place. This square here, because of this 1 and 6, this can only be a 2 or an 8. And this square, because it can only be a 1 or an 8. Okay. So, is that interesting or not? Might be. 1, 4, 7, 8. I feel like I'm going over the same chains in my mind here as I was before. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's take a look. We managed to restrict this. Let's just check row 3. So this square here can be a 3, 4 or 5. That's not that good, is it? This square. 1, 5, 6, 8, I think. This one. This is quite restricted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now there is a bent quadruple here. If we look at, I'll do some highlighting afterwards. Now, this is called something. I think it's called something like Sue-De-Coq or something. It's an interesting form of bent quadruple, and the reason it's interesting is if we have a look at these 2 central squares of the quadruple, let's call these the wings. Now, and ask ourselves questions about these 2 squares. Now, is it possible these 2 squares here contain a 6 and an 8? And clearly it's not possible, because that would mean this square was not fillable. Is it possible, on the other hand, that these 2 squares contain a 1 and a 5? Well, that's not possible either. That will force this square to not be fillable. So we know unequivocally that these 2 squares will contain exactly 1 of the numbers 6 and 8, and exactly 1 of the numbers 1 and 5. Therefore, when we look at squares like these 2 squares, we know that they cannot contain a 6 or an 8. Because, watch what happens. If this is a 6, then this obviously will be an 8 here, and these 2 squares will be forced to be 1 and 5, which we know is impossible. So we cannot have or cells outside of this bent quadruple that can see all of the relevant numbers in the bent quadruple that are affected by them, that force these squares to have this deadly pattern. So for these two squares are the only squares in the grid that can see all of the 6s and 8s in the quadruple. Neither this square and this square can contain a 6 or an 8. And looking along row 3, this square, and this square can't contain any of the numbers 1 and 5. And again, let's just prove that to you. If this was a 5, watch what happens. That will force a 1 here. That will mean these two squares contain the numbers 6 and 8, and that will break this. So this cannot be a 5. Now let's just check the rest of this. So you can see this isn't very helpful here because we have a 1 and a 5 already in column 9. So this square is not impacted at all by this bent quadruple. This square is, because it can't contain a 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, can't contain a 5, can't contain a 6, 7. Okay, well, that's not that helpful, but this 3, 4 might be helpful. And let's check these two squares. So this square can't contain a 6. So this can be a 1, 2, 3, 4. Can be a 5. Can't be a 6 for the reason I just mentioned. Can't be 7, 8. Can be 9. Don't see why not immediately. Let's go up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. This isn't restricted for 5. 6, 7 is restricted for 8. Okay, so this square is, again, I can eliminate an 8 I couldn't otherwise eliminate from this square. So there's two squares here that are interesting to me. This one and this one, because they've been reduced to doubles. Now, can I do something with that? Yes, I can. Yes. Right, let's have a look at column 3. Where can we place the numbers 1 and 8 in column 3? Well, we have a 1 and 8 here, so we can't place them in any of these 3 squares. We have a 1 and an 8 here, so we can't have a 1 or an 8 here. And because of the work we've just done, we can't have a 1 or an 8 here. An 8 would have been possible before this bent quadruple. So 1 and 8 can only be in this square and this square. Now that must be helpful. Mustn't it? Surely. Okay, so what do we need now to finish this column off? We need 2, 5, 6, 7, 9. So 2, 7, or 9. Blow. That's not helping that much. Or is it? It is helping, I think, because there is a fascinating chain here. If this is a 2, this is a 3, this is a 4, this would be an 8. That backs into this. This would be a 6. This would be an 8. This would be a 1. And this would be a 7. So that is helpful, because we've managed to establish either this is a 7 or this is a 7. So any cell in the grid that sees both of these squares cannot contain a 7. I can eliminate a 7 from that square. and I can eliminate a 7 from this square. Now, is that enough to allow me to make progress? The answer is I'm not sure. Below. Oh, but hang on. I'm so busy focusing on this column. We've now got a pair in row 9. This is a 2-3 pair, I think, because I think that, yeah. So this is a 7 now. Okay, God, I'm being slow there. So that's a 7. And, okay, so now, can we use this 7 for anything more? 7. Don't believe it. All that work to get a 7 here, and it doesn't do anything. Okay, there is another chain. We look at this one. So this 2, 3 here, this could be a 3, or it could be a 2. Now if it's a 2, we get back into this 8, 6 pair over here, which I highlighted right at the start. So if this is a 2, this is forced to be an 8. This is a 6, this is an 8, this is a 4, and this is a 3. So either this is a 3, or this is a 3. And that affects this square. This square can't have a 3 in it, which otherwise we didn't know. And I've just noticed that gives us a 3, 4 pair in row 3, I think. So let's just check the square now. So this could have been 2, 3, 6, or 8. So it can't be 2, it can't be 3. Oh, bother. 6 is still possible. Yeah, okay, 6 is still possible. But we do have a 3, 4 pair now. Where can we place the numbers 3 and 4 in row 3? You can see there's only 2 squares that contain the numbers 3 and 4. So this square can't contain an 8. Let's remove the 8 from there and see if that helps us with anything. The answer is probably no, and now my phone is buzzing at me. So that's no use. So why does it matter that there's a 3, 4 pair in row 3? Does it matter indeed? Don't know. This is very difficult. Okay, so let's have a look back over here. This is 2, 3, 5, or 6. But we can eliminate 6 because if we look at column 3, the 6 is locked into one of these 2 squares because we have the 1, 8 pair, and this square can't contain a 6, and neither can this one. So that's not a 6. So this is 2, 3, or 5. Can we eliminate another number from this square. Yeah. Yes, we can. We can use the same empty rectangle trick we did before. So let me show you. 5s into one of those, into the cross here. And look, if we look at row 3 this time, we'd lock the 5s into one of two positions, this one and this one. So either there is a 5 along the row, one of these three is a 5, that eliminates a 5 from this square, or there is a 5 in the column. And if there's a 5 in the column, this is not a 5. Once this is not a 5, this is forced to be a 5. Again, eliminating the 5 from this square. So either way, that is not a 5. That is beautiful. So now we have a 2-3 pair here. So we can eliminate those two. 5, 6. Yes, we're going to get numbers now. This is better. So now we've got a 5, 6 pair, look, in the block. So we can eliminate, this can't be a 5, this has to be a 9 now. Let's make sure we do everything we can in terms of recording the results of this, because this puzzle is far more difficult than I was expecting given how many givens there were. So now this square can be a 2. I'm just checking whether there's anything else I can get out of this, and I'm not seeing anything. So we'll make this a 2. Yeah, this is nice. Okay. Again, I'm triple checking whether I'm missing anything. So now this square here must be a 2. It's the only place a 2 can go in row 4. You can see again, I'm going to be able to write in a 3 here. Can I go further than that? 2, 6, 8 down the column. And this is now a 2, 6. I think this can be anything, 2, 6 or 8. 3, we need, what do we need? 7 and 9 to complete this row. We have a 9 here, so this is a 9 now. 9, 7. That means this must be a 7. Now we're back into another chain here. This is looking very good. This might be the end. Now, 5. So did I pencil mark this 3, 7 for a reason? Is that real? 4, 7, 8. So why did I think this couldn't be an 8 in this square? Can't remember. Is that? Oh, that 5 isn't. I think that 5 is a remnant of the. I'm not actually sure I trust any of the numbers in here actually at the moment. I'm just going to check this column again. So 4, 7, 8. So why have I got a 3 in it? Not sure about that at all. I'm not sure why I pencil marked that in. That might be a relic of the earlier pencil marks that I just didn't spot. So 4, 7, 8. So this can, that can be anything. 4, 7 or 8. This 3 though does impact here. Sorry for being slow about this, but I'm not really actually. I don't use this method of notation exclusively very often, and I'm terrified that I'm going to have to start this video again having this is to be a 2 now. So I've got the 8, 9, I've got the 2, 3. Now I need to place a 2 that can only go here. It's starting to look a lot better, isn't it? So 5, 6 and 9 across here. This is a 5 or a 9. This is a 6 or a 9. So we've got 6, 8, 9 triple now. So this square here is going to have to be a 3. Yeah, that looks right. 3, 3. Don't think that quite resolves itself. And we've got 1, 4 and 8 to place here. So that's a 4 or an 8. That can be any of those things. 1, 4, 8. 3, 4, 8, 9 and 5 to place up here. 3, 4, 3, 5 there. Okay, so we're starting to make real progress. I suspect I'm missing a trick though, because we seem to make a lot of deductions there that were quite nice. So 1, 6, this is a 1 or a 6. So now we have a 1, 5, 6 down here. There's only one place a 7 can go. Let's put that in. That's annoying, it's not going to give me another number though. 6, this would be a 5, 6, 8. 3, 4, 5 down here. So this is a 4 or a 5 now. 3, 4, and this is a 4 or a 5. So this is the only place left for 3. I find this very counterintuitive, this method actually, at this point of the solve. It seems a lot slower, which I guess makes sense from the point of view of, you know, that's why Snyder notation is so popular in competition, is because when you get to this point of the solve, it's much more natural. But having said that, I think we're making progress. What a puzzle this was. So we need 4, 5 and 7. So we've got 5 and 7 here. 8, 8. 8's into one of those two squares. Yeah, I mean, I think it's done, isn't it? It feels like it's done. I can't believe there's going to be a sting in the tail now. Providing I haven't made an error, I think the puzzle is solved. It's going to be a 5. That's got to be a 3. That would make this a 5, which all looks like it's working. 4, 8, 1, 8, 1, 6, 5, 1, 6, 8. And if everything's worked out, let's just have a quick... Yes, we have. We've solved it. Fantastic. Okay, this was a really, really beautiful puzzle. So let's just recap what we needed to do to solve it. There was a whole load of situations where we had like an 8, 9 here and the 8, 9 here that were important for identifying sort of hidden pairs in rows and columns. Then we used the empty rectangle twice, once over here on column 9 and once on row 3. And then we had the bent quadruple around the corner here, which I think was important because it eliminated the 8 from this square. So, well, not hundreds, but several very interesting techniques. I hope this was, I know there was some moments in here where if you were watching the video, you were just probably watching me stare at the screen, not being clever enough to make swift deductions, but I hope you forgive me that. And as I say, there may have been more efficient ways through it, and I apologise for that too. We do get the occasional comment saying, oh, you didn't spot, you know, such and such. But these solves are not sort of, you start at A and you go to Z via A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. They aren't perfect solves, but they are human solves, and I hope that that's something that's interesting for you guys. Please subscribe if you enjoy the channel. We really appreciate that. I'll stop waffling on now. We'll be back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.